Today, teens speak out about bullying, whether it be in cyberspace, in person, and all the subtle ways that bullying does happen. Stay tuned for a special live broadcast from Argyle Secondary School in North Vancouver. What do adults not get about bullying? We're all really in wonder about this story, Amanda Todd's desperate act of taking her own life. And we're talking about this on the radio with adults, but we wanted to come here today to talk about this with teenagers. We want to hear from teens around our province as well. If you happen to be home from school today, on your lunch hour, whatever the circumstance, our question is, what is it that adults don't get about bullying? And what do teens think can be done to deal with bullying? And Gloria Makarenko, my colleague from CBC Television, is with me. I'm really glad to have her here. And she has some Argyle students with her. Gloria.
Yes, well, I like the idea of kicking this off with the students' voices. And in this particular group, I have Lucy, Bedad, Robin, and Austin. So let's start with that all-encompassing question, Austin. What is it that adults are not getting about bullying?
Between all of us, I think we've come to the conclusion that a lot of things have changed since their generation in terms of social media, as well as just how bullying happens in general. So we think that there's a lot of different things and different approaches that we need to take.
Elizabeth Bell is the principal of Argyle Secondary. Take us back to last Friday when news of Amanda Todd's suicide hit this school and what you saw in how students responded.
I think that for most students, they were shocked, and we saw that. And we saw quiet conversations in hallways with people. We saw others jumping on to social media to see what everybody thought. We had others who pulled off it because, you know, that's not the place to get the factual information. So I think we see it in varying ways. At the bottom of it all, I think people were absolutely shocked and horrified and saddened, as anybody would be at the loss of a teenage life, any life, but a teenage life. And I think it impacts our students greatly. It has provided, in some ways, in a tragic way, it provides us an opportunity to talk about things that need to be talked about, though. And partially while you're here today, and I know that the conversations going on in classes have been sadly intense, and at the same time we need to continue with the teaching and learning that we do here at the school, but that is definitely a piece that we want to address.
You want to address it. So how do you approach it, and what's the message that you want to convey to these young adults, these teenagers, about what's happened and how to respond to it?
You know, I think the biggest message we want to convey is that we care about them. And we care about them in how they work with one another and how they take care of themselves, and that we're here to do that. But that we're not the only ones, and that this is a society that is a huge community and should be. And when that community breaks down, then sometimes that's when we run into people who are trying to handle things by themselves, as perhaps Amanda did, and in a different way. So my message to the kids in lots of ways that we are here for you, and we want to be here for you, and we don't always get it right, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to stop being here for you.
Brenda Morrison is joining us, a social psychologist, director of SFU's Center for Restorative Justice, and she's the author of Restoring Safe School Communities, a whole school response to bullying, and she has been listening to our conversation, and we're going to get her thoughts. And welcome today, Brenda.
Thanks, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
Your reflections on what you're hearing from the students today so far.
Well, it's great to be here. I think we're not going to really fully address this serious problem unless we include the youth in addressing the problems, because as many of the young people astutely noted, my generation, we're cyber surfers. We look for information, and you're cyber citizens. We need to understand your world. We need you to be part of the conversation, and I'm so glad that you're stepping up to this important conversation. And the peers are really important. The peers are a community of care in a very important developmental time in your life, and it's great comments, and I look forward to hearing more. Thanks.
Something that you talk about in your book is a whole school response to bullying. What does that imply?
Well, it's a response that is proactive as well as reactive. It talks about how we build in communities and communities of care and communities of peers at every step of the equation, from a proactive approach to a reactive approach, because we can't have difficult conversations without a community of care. So up at the top end of this little pyramid that we've outlined in the book. We talk about, a community of care for even the bullies to have a difficult conversation.
So why should the bullies have care if they're bullying others?
Because they're never going to take responsibility for the behavior until they feel cared about.
One of the students that's agreed to speak with us today is Cyrus. And Cyrus, you have personal experience with bullying.
Yeah, I was bullied a few years ago in grade 9. I'm in grade 12 now, so it was about 3 years ago. And actually, just echoing off Allison's statement on Twitter, parents don't put themselves in their children's shoes, and they don't understand, for me, when I was bullied, when adults finally intervened, that the severity of the situation actually increased, and it made the bullying worse. I was bullied because I was different. I wasn't exactly, I was a small kid. And I dressed differently, I guess. And I was bullied to the point where I was threatened to be hurt online and at school. And it was only until a teacher noticed that it was brought to somebody's attention, because I was threatened that if I told anybody that I would get hurt and I would be, my physical health would be in danger. And only when somebody intervened, it also got worse. When the administration at Argyle intervened, it just escalated, and it got a lot worse. The threats became more prominent. I actually got into a fight at one point with them somewhere in October in grade 9, and then afterwards, eventually it just sort of started to go away. I guess the administration intervened in such a way that they couldn't be near me anymore. So it went away, and it was definitely something that really affected me. But on the whole, I was very lucky, because I didn't feel the need to take it to the levels that Amanda Todd did. And there's just so many extremes out there that people who are getting bullied look towards, but they got to realize that they got to be stronger, and they've got to. There's better purpose, and them being bullied, it's not their fault. It's society, and it's everybody else that's looking towards them in a negative angle, and they've just got to lift themselves above that, because otherwise something could have happened to me, but I just refuse to look at my life that way.